The sound is what I'll remember most. Not the sight of the gleaming cherry red finish splintering into a dozen jagged pieces, but the sound. A sharp, percussive crack, like a bone snapping, followed by the discordant death rattle of six steel strings pulled past their breaking point. It's a sound that echoes through time, a sonic scar carved into my memory. My vintage Gibson, my pride, my one true escape, shatters against the cold, unforgiving concrete floor of our garage. It's the exact same sound it made 3 years ago, or, depending on how you look at it, the sound it will make 3 years from now. Time gets a little fuzzy when you've lived the same betrayal twice. My sister Maya stands over the wreckage. She's breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling beneath her pristine white blouse. Her perfectly manicured fingers, the nails painted a delicate shade of blush, are trembling from the force of the throw. Her face, usually a mask of calm, composed superiority, is twisted into a snarl of righteous fury. "You'll never be anything but a basement dreamer, Jake," she spits, the words as sharp and damaging as the shards of wood at her feet. "Stop embarrassing our family." The coffee I drank this morning, a cheap instant blend that tasted like hope and caffeine, suddenly turns bitter in my mouth, a foul, acidic brew of déjà vu. I stare at the splintered mahogany, the graceful curve of the body now a jagged mess, the headstock sheared clean off. The last time this happened, the first time, I crumpled. I fell to my knees amidst the debris of my most prized possession and wept like a child, my sobs echoing in the dusty silence of the garage. My world had ended in that moment. This time, I don't cry, I don't shout, I don't even flinch. I simply meet her furious gaze with a placid calm that seems to unnerve her more than any outburst would have. I take a slow, deliberate sip of my now cold coffee and nod. Then, I reach into my pocket for my phone, my fingers swiping across the screen with practiced ease. "You're right," I tell her, my voice even and steady. My thumb is already tapping out a text to my primary contact at Atlantic Records, a man who knows me only as Ghost Writer. I should probably give up music entirely. The crash of the guitar against the concrete acts like a switch, throwing me back into the memory that has defined my second chance at life. As Maya, her righteous pronouncement delivered, turns on her heel and storms out of the garage, the scene around me blurs and fades, replaced by the sterile, antiseptic white of a hospital room. The steady, rhythmic beeping of machines provides the soulless soundtrack to my final moments. 28 years old, withered and frail, a ghost haunting my own body. The tumor, a malignant seed planted by despair and nurtured by years of quiet desperation, had finally bloomed. I remember the feeling of powerlessness, of watching my own life ebb away, one beep at a time. I remember seeing Maya through the haze of morphine, her expression not one of grief, but of grim practicality. She was there with a lawyer, signing papers. My papers. She was discussing the sale of my remaining guitars, the ones she hadn't already broken, to fund her lavish wedding to a man I despised. Her voice was calm, detached, as if she were discussing patio furniture, not the last vestiges of my soul. "He would have wanted me to have this," I heard her say, the words a final, cruel twist of the knife. Then, the beeping slowed, flattened, and the world dissolved into a silent, featureless black. And then, I woke up. Not in a hospital bed, not in an afterlife, but right back here, in this garage. I was 25 again, gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs. The scent of motor oil and sawdust filled my lungs instead of the sterile reek of disinfectant. 3 years had been rewound. I was back before the final, crushing betrayals, before the diagnosis, before the dream had truly died. The tumor was just a dormant, harmless cluster of cells, waiting for the despair that would awaken it. Everything was exactly as it had been, a pristine timeline waiting to be lived, or in my case, relived. My fingers, young and strong again, traced the splintered edge of the Gibson's broken headstock. The first time this moment was the catalyst for my downfall. Maya's cruelty, her absolute dismissal of my passion, was the final blow. It came just after I'd lost my dead-end job at the local music store, a job she'd helped me lose. The combination sent me spiraling into a deep, dark depression that hollowed me out and made me a welcome host for the cancer that consumed me. But this isn't the first time. For 2 years since that miraculous, impossible awakening, I have been preparing for this day. I have been moving in the shadows, a ghost in my own life. The secret recording sessions, late at night when the house was asleep, the creation of an anonymous online persona, ghostwriter, a faceless musician releasing raw, powerful tracks into the digital ether, the careful, meticulous cultivation of a network of industry contacts, powerful people who knew my work, my sound, my potential, but had no idea who I was or where to find me. This time, Maya didn't just break a guitar. She lit the fuse on a bomb I'd been building for 2 years. Methodically, I begin to clean up. I find a dustpan and a brush, and with a surgeon's precision, I sweep the wooden fragments and tangled strings into a neat pile. Each piece is a relic, a tangible reminder of what Maya took from me in my first life and a building block for the new one I'm constructing. The morning sun streams through the garage's grimy, single-pane window, cutting through the dusty air and casting long shadows that dance across the oil-stained concrete like musical notes on a staff. It's a beautiful morning for a resurrection. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a low, insistent vibration against my leg. I pull it out. 3 missed calls from a number I know by heart, Marcus Chen, a senior AANDR executive at Sony Music. He's one of the most aggressive pursuers of the enigmatic ghostwriter. For months, he's been trying to unmask the artist behind the compositions I've been uploading to various streaming platforms under a dozen different fake names, a digital breadcrumb trail leading right where I wanted it to. Just as I'm about to call him back, the side door to the garage creaks open. Maya returns, but this time, she has backup. My mother follows her in, and they are wearing identical expressions of righteous, loving disappointment. It's a look I know well, a carefully crafted blend of concern and judgment. Jake needs to get serious about his future, Maya announces, her voice dripping with the feigned concern of a benevolent dictator. She's already reframed her violent outburst as a desperate act of love. He's 25 years old, Mom. He's still in here playing with his toys. I let the accusation hang in the air, offering no defense. I discreetly pocket my phone before they can catch a glimpse of the screen. A new text message has just lit it up. A notification banner glowing with words that feel like destiny. It's from Marcus Chen. Ghostwriter, your demo for Midnight Confessions just hit 1 million streams overnight. The buzz is deafening. We need to meet today. The living room feels like a courtroom where the verdict has already been decided. The air is thick with the cloying scent of my mother's jasmine tea, a fragrance I now associate with false concern and gentle manipulation. Maya has orchestrated this family intervention with the precision of a military general planning an invasion. My father is here, positioned in his favorite armchair, his role to provide a backdrop of heavy, disappointed silence. And to my left on the sofa sits Maya's fiancé, Brad, a smug, self-satisfied finance bro who looks at me like I'm a particularly uninteresting insect. We're worried about you, Jake, my mother begins, her voice a carefully modulated cocktail of love and exasperation. It's a tone she has perfected over years of dealing with her dreamer son. Maya tells us you're spending 18 hours a day holed up in that garage, just making noise. I let them speak, one after the other, a chorus of concern that sounds rehearsed. I watch Maya's performance with a kind of detached fascination. She is the golden child, after all, and she plays her part to perfection. The pre-med student with the 4.0 GPA, the daughter with the perfect, successful boyfriend, the pride and joy of our parents. In my first life, I soaked up their words like a sponge. I believed their concern was genuine, that their vision for my life, a sensible, stable, joyless existence, was for my own good. I let their anxieties become my own. This time, I see the performance for what it is. A power play. A way to reinforce her own life choices by negating mine. The irony is so thick, it burns like acid in my throat. Here they are, staging this elaborate intervention to save me from my musical delusions, to shepherd me towards aerial future. And all the while, my phone, resting silently in my pocket, continues to buzz with a relentless, silent rhythm. It's a symphony of notifications from AA&R executives, famous music producers, and industry bloggers, all of them clamoring for a piece of the one person they can't find, ghostwriter. My secret is safe for now, and it's the most powerful weapon I've ever possessed. Monday morning at Vintage Strings music store tastes of stale coffee and premeditated betrayal. The air in the shop is usually a pleasant mix of lemon oil and old wood, but today it just feels suffocating. My manager, Rick, summons me to his cramped, windowless office at the back of the store. The room perpetually reeks of stale cigarette smoke, shattered dreams, and the cheap cologne he uses to mask the first two. Rick, it should be noted, was Maya's boyfriend before Brad came along with his trust fund and his Audi. Their breakup was not amicable, but they've maintained a strange alliance, united by their shared belief in my inherent lack of potential. "Jake, we need to talk," he says, his words clipped. He doesn't look at me, focusing instead on some imaginary speck of dust on his cluttered desk. His thick fingers drum an impatient, arrhythmic beat on the faux wood surface, a nervous tick that always betrays his unease. "Maya called me yesterday. She's concerned about your stability." The script begins, and I listen with a sense of profound weariness as it unfolds. Every word a perfect echo of the past. Rick, with a pained expression that's supposed to convey deep sympathy, explains how my erratic behavior, which translates to me spending my nights writing music instead of getting drunk with him, and my obsession with unrealistic dreams are making customers uncomfortable. He claims there have been complaints, though he can't specify from whom or about what. It's a masterclass in gaslighting, and in my first life it worked perfectly. I left his office feeling ashamed, broken, and convinced that I was the problem. By noon that day, 3 years ago, I was demoted to inventory duty in the cavernous, silent back room, away from the guitars and the people who played them. This time, I play my part. I let my shoulders slump. I stare at the floor. I project an aura of defeat. "Okay, Rick," I murmur, my voice just shaky enough. "I understand." He leans back, satisfied. The demotion is official. He thinks he's won, that he's put the basement dreamer back in his box. I spend the rest of the day in the stockroom, stacking heavy guitar cases with a mechanical, almost robotic precision. To anyone watching, I would look like a man whose spirit has been crushed. But inside, I'm electric. I've slipped in a single earbud, hidden by my hair, and it's streaming a playlist of a different sort. Voicemails from Marcus Chen, congratulatory texts from a music blogger in the UK, snippets of my own songs being used in viral videos. My smile, hidden from the world in the dusty solitude of the stockroom, tastes like revenge served ice cold. That evening, back in the sanctuary of my garage, the first strike is launched. The plan I've been cultivating for 2 years is finally set in motion. With a few clicks, I upload a new track to my anonymous ghostwriter accounts across all platforms. The song is called Family Betrayal. It's a haunting, minimalist ballad, just my voice and a single acoustic guitar, the melody laced with sorrow and a quiet, simmering rage. The lyrics don't name names, but they don't have to. They paint a chillingly precise picture of sibling jealousy disguised as concern, of a family's love that feels more like a cage. It's the story of having your wings clipped by the very people who were supposed to teach you how to fly. The internet works faster than I could have ever hoped. Within a few hours, the song is a spark. By midnight, it's a wildfire. It starts trending on TikTok, where users stitch it with videos of their own experiences, their faces etched with a familiar pain. The hashtag #ToxicFamily explodes. The comments section of the YouTube upload becomes a digital support group, a wailing wall for the misunderstood and the betrayed. Thousands of people share their stories. A brother who laughed at their art, a mother who called their passion a silly hobby, a father who demanded they pursue a sensible career. The song ceases to be just my story. It becomes an anthem. My phone rings just after midnight. It's Maya. Her voice, usually so controlled and measured, is shaking with a fury she can barely contain. "Did you see it?" she demands, without so much as a hello. "That awful song that's going viral? It's about us, isn't it? Someone in this town must have overheard something. They must have told our business to some random, pathetic musician." I let out a long, deliberate yawn into the receiver, playing my part of the oblivious, defeated brother to perfection. "What song?" I ask, my voice thick with fake sleep. I was asleep, Maya. You know I don't really follow all those pop music trends. I can almost feel her frustration vibrating through the phone, a satisfying tremor of chaos she can't control. By Wednesday, the shockwaves from family betrayal have reached the shores of the professional music world. It's no longer just a viral TikTok sound, it's a phenomenon. Prominent music industry insider blogs are writing think pieces about it. They're calling Ghostwriter the authentic voice of a generation, a raw, unfiltered talent, and they are all asking the same question. Who is this person? The anonymity only fuels the fire, creating a mythic quality around the music. The real-world effects are even more immediate. Back at Vintage Strings, Rick notices a change. There's a marked increase in foot traffic, but it's not our usual customers. Middle-aged men reliving their glory days. It's teenagers, dozens of them coming in with their friends, pointing at guitars, their eyes shining with a newfound inspiration. They talk about the Ghostwriter song, how it made them feel seen, how it made them want to learn to play. During our Wednesday staff meeting, Rick, completely oblivious, takes full credit. He puffs out his chest, leaning back in his chair with the air of a man who fancies himself a business guru. You see, he announces to the two other part-time employees, sometimes adversity creates opportunity. It just goes to show that any publicity is good publicity. Maybe this ghostwriter fellow is good for business after all. He winks at me as if we're sharing a private joke, as if his act of petty cruelty was actually a brilliant marketing strategy. I nod along, a faint, non-committal smile on my lips. I let him have his moment of unearned pride. I let him believe he's riding the wave when, in reality, he's about to be drowned by it. Because while he's pontificating, I am silently composing my next song in my head. The melody is sharp, the lyrics are serrated. I already have the title, Small Town Tyrant. Rick has absolutely no idea that he's about to become internet famous for all the wrong reasons. His name is about to become synonymous with every petty, power-tripping boss who ever crushed a dream to feel a little bigger. Small Town Tyrant drops on Friday evening, timed perfectly to hit its peak over the weekend. The release is a tactical nuke. Where family betrayal was poetic and allegorical, this new track is brutally specific. It's a rock anthem with a driving beat and a snarling guitar riff, and the lyrics are a masterwork of passive-aggressive portraiture. They paint a vivid, unflattering picture of a failed musician turned bitter music store manager, a man who gets his only pleasure from belittling young, aspiring artists, a gatekeeper of a tiny kingdom of dust and broken dreams. I included details only a local would know. The faded poster of his old band, Static Bloom, still hanging in his office. His habit of mispronouncing the names of famous guitarists. His condescending catchphrase, "It's a tough business, kid." The town's local Facebook groups, usually reserved for complaining about potholes and advertising garage sales, absolutely explode. It's instantaneous. Dozens of people recognize Rick immediately. The comment threads become a torrent of confirmation and shared grievances. Local teenagers, past and present, share their own stories of Rick's harsh treatment, his dismissive attitude, his sneering remarks about their cheap instruments or their musical aspirations. Former employees come out of the woodwork detailing his pattern of hiring talented young musicians, only to systematically break their spirits. The song gives them a voice, a validation they never had. Rick calls in sick on Saturday. It's the first time he's ever missed a weekend shift. But as I'm taking out the trash, I see his beat-up Honda Civic parked in the alleyway behind the dumpster. Peeking through the stockroom's grimy back window, I can see him. He's sitting in the driver's seat, the window cracked, a plume of cigarette smoke curling into the afternoon air. He's just scrolling through his phone, his face illuminated by the screen, pale as fresh snow, his expression one of pure, unadulterated horror. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Maya, her words frantic and riddled with typos. People are saying Rick is the manager from that new Ghostwriter song. This is getting completely out of hand. It's all over the town gossip page. What if people connect it back to our family? I type back a simple, infuriatingly calm response. Wow, that's crazy. Poor Rick. The first real taste of victory arrives on Sunday morning. It comes in the form of a phone call from Mrs. Patterson, the elderly, hands-off owner of Vintage Strings. Her voice is flustered but firm. Rick has submitted his resignation via email, effective immediately, citing personal reasons and online harassment. Without even pausing for breath, she offers me the position of assistant manager. Not just the title, but a significant raise, full-time hours, and most importantly, the freedom to organize and host local music events, open mic nights, and workshops for young players. The very things Rick always shot down. That evening, as I'm setting up my recording equipment in the garage, Maya appears at the door. Her usual armor of confidence is gone, replaced by a nervous, twitchy energy. The expensive perfume she wears, a scent that always seemed to announce her arrival, now feels like a desperate attempt to mask the underlying odor of fear. "Jake," she begins, her voice softer than I've heard it in years. "I think we should talk. Really talk." She perches awkwardly on the edge of my dad's old, splintered workbench, careful not to let her designer jeans touch anything greasy. Maybe I was a little too harsh about your music." I don't look at her. I continue plugging a cable into my audio interface. I pick up my brand new replacement guitar, a beautiful sunburst Martin acoustic that I bought with the first substantial royalty check from Ghostwriter. I begin to tune it, the sound of the perfectly pitched strings filling the silence between us. "Too harsh about what music?" I ask, my voice cool and even as I pluck the low E string. "I thought you said I should give up." The air inside the main hall of Northwood Community College on Tuesday buzzes with a unique energy, a chaotic mix of youthful dreams and the quiet desperation of those on their second or third attempt at a future. I navigate the crowded hallways, the familiar sights and sounds a backdrop to the next phase of my plan. My target is Professor Williams, head of the music department. In my first life, he was a man I respected, a friend of my father's and Maya's academic mentor. He was also the man who gently, kindly, and systematically dismantled my ambitions. He calls me to his office after my music theory class. The room hasn't changed. It smells of dusty, unread books, old paper, and the faint, sweet scent of the pipe tobacco he used to smoke before the campus-wide ban. It's the smell of broken promises. "Jake, have a seat," he says, gesturing to the worn leather chair opposite his desk. He adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses with a practiced, authoritative gesture. "Your father and I had a little chat over the weekend. He asked me to have a frank conversation with you. Your family is concerned about your direction." It's happening again. The same paternalistic speech, delivered with the same feigned sincerity. He drones on about the realities of the music industry, how it's a one-in-a-million shot, how a man needs a practical career to fall back on. He uses phrases like long-term stability and marketable skills. He tells me my fantasy of being a musician is becoming an embarrassment to my family's good name in this small, interconnected town. Dad's a respected accountant, Mom's on the board of every local charity, and Maya is their pre-med prodigy. I am the anomaly, the loose thread they are all desperate to snip. The fluorescent lights on the ceiling hum with a low, incessant buzz, like a dying amplifier. Professor Williams slides a course catalog across the desk. "I've taken the liberty of highlighting some business courses," he says, his voice smooth as honey. "Accounting, marketing. These are skills that will serve you well, son. Think of your future. Think of stability." In my first life, I listened. I nodded. I let his words poison my resolve. This time, I nod and smile, but my mind is already writing lyrics. By Thursday, the sabotage is complete. I log into the student portal to check my schedule and discover that Williams has made good on his threat. My advanced music composition course, the capstone class I desperately needed to be eligible for the State University Transfer Scholarship, has vanished. In its place is remedial mathematics. I go to his office. He feigns surprise, blaming it on an administrative error. He promises to look into it. I then go to the registrar's office, a place that perpetually smells of frustration, cheap coffee, and bureaucratic red tape. Mrs. Henderson, the perpetually stressed-out secretary, offers a weary, apologetic smile. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry," she says, her eyes conveying genuine sympathy. "Professor Williams already filled that last spot in the composition class this morning. There was another student on the wait list." She pats my hand. "Perhaps next semester, dear." I put on my best show. I let my shoulders slump in defeat. I thank her for her time, my voice laced with disappointment. I walk out of the administrative building looking like another kid whose dreams just hit a brick wall. But my phone, safely tucked in my pocket, contains the ammunition I need. A series of screenshots covertly taken from a fellow music student who works part-time in the department office. They're from an internal faculty messaging system, showing Williams bragging to a colleague about how he successfully redirected another dreamer toward reality. He calls it academic triage. That evening, the garage becomes my studio and my war room. The anger I feel is cold and sharp. I channel it into my music. I compose Professor Pretender, a savage, satirical, and painfully accurate musical exposé of an academic authority figure who gets a perverse joy from crushing the very dreams he's supposed to nurture. Professor Pretender is launched on Friday night, and it hits the local college community like a lightning strike. The song is an acoustic folk punk anthem, catchy and venomous. The lyrics are surgically precise, detailing the mannerisms of a specific type of music professor, one who dismisses any music made after 1978, who constantly laments the death of real music, and who takes every opportunity to steer passionate students towards A-fur majors. The song's most brutal barb is the chorus, which reveals the professor's deep-seated bitterness stems from his own failed career as a keyboardist in a cheesy 80s wedding band. The recognition among the Northwood student body is immediate and total. Everyone knows it's about Professor Williams. Social media platforms become a digital tribunal. Students, both current and former, flood the college's unofficial Facebook page and local forums with their own stories of Williams. They share anecdotes of his discouraging remarks, his condescending critiques, and his overt pattern of advising talented music students to switch to business or communications. The song acts as a key, unlocking a floodgate of suppressed resentment. The college's official Facebook page is quickly overwhelmed. Alumni from 10, 15, even 20 years ago emerge, sharing stories of how Williams's practical advice crushed their own musical ambitions, how he systematically dismantled their confidence, and how he transformed from a seemingly passionate musician into a jaded, dream-killing bureaucrat. He is no longer just a professor. He is a cautionary tale, a meme, the villain of a viral song. My phone buzzes late Saturday night. It's Maya, and the panic in her voice is even more palpable than before. Jake, it's everywhere. People are talking about Professor Williams all over town. They're saying he's the professor from that new Ghostwriter song. He's a friend of Dad's. What if people start connecting the dots back to us? Monday morning on campus feels different. There's a tension in the air, a buzz of gossip and rebellion. The news spreads quickly. Professor Williams has been placed on administrative review. The music department, inundated with a flood of emails and calls from outraged students and alumni, has been forced to launch a formal investigation into his teaching methods and his history of academic advising. I see him from across the central quad. He's hurrying from the arts building to the administrative block, his usual confident, leisurely stroll replaced by a frantic, hunched-over scuttle. He's clutching a briefcase to his chest like a shield, his eyes darting around, deliberately avoiding the gaze of the students who watch him pass. His swagger, the easy authority he always projected, has completely evaporated. He looks small, hunted. By lunchtime, the student-run college newspaper has published a front-page exposé. The headline is bold and accusatory: "When Teachers Become Dream Crushers, the Professor Pretender Controversy." It features a large, unflattering photo of Williams, taken during a lecture, looking smug and condescending. The article is filled with quotes from the Ghostwriter song, juxtaposed with anonymous, harrowing testimonials from students he has wronged over the years. My art has become a legitimate news story. My phone buzzes again. It's not Maya this time. It's Marcus Chen. His text is short and ecstatic. Ghostwriter's impact on the academic world is incredible. We've got calls from major news outlets. Rolling Stone wants an interview about your influence on youth culture. We need to talk logistics. When can we meet in person? The world I was building in secret was breaking through into reality with more force than I had ever anticipated. The Sunday dinner table feels like a tribunal, and I am once again the one on trial. The scent of Mom's pot roast, usually a comforting aroma, feels heavy and oppressive, tasting of sawdust and simmering desperation. Maya has assembled the family for another crisis meeting. Her anxiety is a palpable thing, a frantic energy she's barely managing to contain beneath her perfectly applied makeup and serene expression. These ghostwriter songs are getting too close to home, she begins, her fork and knife clicking nervously against her plate. Her voice is tight, strained, each word carefully controlled. First it was Rick, now it's Professor Williams. These aren't just random coincidences. What if people start putting the pieces together? What if they figure out the connection is us? For the first time in what feels like forever, my father speaks up. He sets his fork down on his plate with a deliberate, uncharacteristic force. The sound echoes in the tense silence. Maya, he says, his voice low and rumbling. Maybe these songs are hitting so close to home because they're telling the truth. Maybe they're telling the truth about what really happens in this town. It's a direct hit. Maya's carefully constructed mask of control slips for just a fraction of a second, revealing the raw panic churning underneath. Dad, you can't be serious, she stammers, her eyes wide. You can't possibly think... She stops, turns her desperate gaze on me. Jake, tell them. Tell them you don't know anything about this ghostwriter person. I look at her, then at my parents, and I deploy the most powerful weapon in my arsenal. Perfect, plausible deniability. I feign a look of utter bewilderment. Ghostwriter? Is that the guy who did that song about the manager? I think I heard something about it at work. I proceed to ask a series of detailed, innocent questions. What kind of music does this ghost person make? Are they local? Why is everyone so worked up about it? The trap is sprung. Maya realizes her critical error. In her panic to discredit the songs, she has only succeeded in piquing our parents' curiosity. She has drawn their attention directly to the very thing that terrifies her. Well, my mother says, her interest genuinely sparked, if they're causing such a stir in town, maybe we should listen to these songs. What are they called, dear? The color drains from Maya's face. She looks like she's just swallowed poison. She has opened a Pandora's box in our own living room, and she has no idea how to close it. The scent of jasmine and treachery fills the kitchen on Wednesday evening. Maya sits across from me at the old oak table, her posture radiating a tense, deliberate calm. Her laptop is open, angled so I can see the screen. It's a web page, an online application for a corporate training program based in Chicago. My name is already typed into the relevant fields. I filled this out for you, she says, her voice as sweet as honey, but with a bitter, metallic aftertaste of false concern. It's a fantastic opportunity, Jake. A 6-month, all-expenses-paid training program with a guaranteed placement in a management position afterward, a real future. I scroll through the details, my expression unreadable. Paid training, corporate housing, a guaranteed 6-figure salary upon completion. It's the golden ticket, the embodiment of everything my family defines as success. But I see the catch immediately, hidden in the fine print of the start date. Monday. The program begins this coming Monday. Accepting this opportunity means I would have to pack up my life and move across the country in less than 5 days. It means abandoning my job at Vintage Strings, the one I'm finally starting to enjoy. It means leaving behind the garage, my studio, my entire ghostwriter operation just as it's reaching a critical mass. I already spoke with the recruiter, Maya continues, her eyes fixed on my face, gauging my reaction with unsettling intensity. I told them you were eager to accept. Mom and Dad think it's a perfect idea. A fresh start, Jake. A chance to get away from all the distractions here. Her victory seems assured. She believes she's found the perfect, benevolent way to end my musical career for good. The family intervention that follows feels less like a conversation and more like a coordinated ambush. It's a full-court press of emotional manipulation, and they've perfected their strategy. They gather in the living room, a united front of loving concern. Mom leads with tears, her voice trembling as she speaks of my wasted potential and her fears for my future. Dad follows with a stern, patriarchal lecture on duty and responsibility, his words heavy with disappointment. And Maya, the orchestrator of it all, plays the role of the compassionate, long-suffering sister who only wants what's best for me. Sometimes we have to save people from themselves, she explains to our parents. Her performance so convincing it's almost admirable. She frames her actions as a heroic rescue mission. Jake is just too stubborn to see this incredible opportunity for what it is. He needs a little push in the right direction. The printed out application paperwork sits on the coffee table between us. It's a contract, a surrender document, a death warrant for my dream. In my first life, this was the moment I finally broke. Exhausted, beaten down, and convinced they were right, I signed it. The corporate job that followed was a slow, soul-crushing poison. It hollowed me out, killed my musical spirit, and paved the way for the depression that ultimately made my body a welcome host for the cancer that took my life. This time, my hand is steady as I reach for the pen. I look at Maya, at her radiant, triumphant smile. She thinks she has won. She believes she has finally, definitively saved me from myself. I look at my parents, their faces a mixture of relief and love. "You're right," I say, my voice quiet but clear. "I should probably take this seriously." I pull the papers toward me, uncapping the black ink pen with a soft click that sounds like a gunshot in the silent room. Maya's smile widens. This is it. The end of the silly garage band phase, the beginning of my respectable life. I lean over the signature line, the pen hovering for a dramatic beat. My family watches, holding a collective breath, anticipating the scrawl of my name, the symbol of my capitulation. Instead of writing Jake Miller, I move the pen with a slow, deliberate flourish. In elegant, stylized script, I write 2 words across the signature line. Ghostwriter. I slide the paper back across the coffee table towards Maya. She doesn't notice at first, her mind already celebrating her victory. She picks it up, ready to file it away, but then her eyes catch on the signature line. Her smile freezes, then collapses. What is this? Her voice is a choked whisper at first, then it climbs several octaves into a sharp, panicked squeak. Jake, what did you just write? The comfortable, loving atmosphere in the room evaporates instantly. The silence that follows is heavy, suffocating, broken only by the low hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen and Maya's increasingly rapid, shallow breathing. My mother and father lean forward, their brows furrowed in confusion, trying to read the name that has been the talk of our town for weeks. Ghostwriter, my dad reads aloud, the name sounding foreign and strange coming from his lips. He looks from the paper to me, his confusion slowly hardening into suspicion. Isn't that the musician everyone has been talking about? The one who wrote those songs about Rick and Professor Williams? Jake, why would you write that name? I offer a small, innocent shrug, my face a mask of practiced bewilderment. The chaos I have just unleashed is beautiful, and I am savoring every second of it. I don't know, I say, my tone light and casual. The name just popped into my head. Weird coincidence, right? Maya's world is visibly crumbling in real time. Her hands, clutching her laptop, begin to tremble. She is processing the impossible implications with terrifying speed. If I am ghostwriter, it changes everything. It means the songs weren't just random, coincidental critiques of people we knew. They were targeted, they were personal, they were revenge. You can't be, she whispers, her eyes darting between me and the damning signature on the paper. But she knows. The pieces are clicking into place with horrifying clarity. Family betrayal, a song about a sister's jealousy. Small-town tyrant, an expose of her ex-boyfriend. Professor Pretender, a takedown of her academic mentor. It wasn't coincidence. It was a campaign executed with cold, surgical precision. The temperature in the room seems to plummet. The air grows thick with unspoken accusations and dawning horror. I stand up slowly, deliberately, breaking the spell. The power dynamic in this family, a structure that has been in place for 25 years, has just been irrevocably shattered. I think I'll pass on Chicago, I say, my voice calm and steady. But thanks for the opportunity, though. Maya follows me out to the garage just as I knew she would. The moment the kitchen door swings shut behind us, her carefully maintained composure shatters completely. She begins to pace the concrete floor like a caged animal, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, her breathing shallow and rapid. The scent of her expensive perfume is sharp with the undertones of pure panic. "If you're really him," she says, her voice cracking under the weight of the realization, "if you're really Ghostwriter, then you've been planning this, all of it, the songs, the timing, making Rick quit, getting Williams investigated, everything." I don't answer her. I turn my back and begin my nightly ritual of organizing my music equipment. I coil a cable with slow, deliberate movements. I wipe down the fretboard of my new Martin guitar. My calmness is a stark, cruel contrast to her spiraling panic, and the effect is intoxicating. I am in complete control and she knows it. "Jake, please," she begs, her voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "You have to stop. If this gets out, if people find out that our family is the one behind those songs, it would ruin us. It would ruin Dad's business. It would ruin my reputation." She doesn't finish the sentence, but the unspoken implications hang heavy in the dusty air. Her perfect life, her perfect image, built on a foundation of lies and my suppression, is about to be demolished. For the first time in our entire lives, my sister is begging me for something. Not commanding, not demanding, not manipulating, begging. The role reversal is dizzying, a tectonic shift in our lifelong dynamic. The taste of it is like sweet, dark vindication mixed with the sharp, clean notes of my morning coffee. It's the taste of freedom. "What do you want?" she asks finally, her voice small and broken. Her pride, her most formidable weapon, has crumbled into dust. "Money? Is that it? I'll give you my savings account, all of it. Just don't release any more songs about us, please." I stop what I'm doing. I turn to face her fully, letting her see the cold, quiet resolve in my eyes. I want her to see the person she created, the person who was forged in the fires of her years of systematic cruelty and reborn with a purpose she could never understand. "I want you to understand something, Maya," I say, my voice low and even. The garage falls silent. The only sounds are the distant hum of late-night traffic on the main road and her own ragged, desperate breathing. The conference room at the downtown Marriott on Saturday morning smells of expensive, freshly brewed coffee and life-altering opportunities. The air is crisp and cool, a climate-controlled reality far removed from my dusty garage. Marcus Chen, the Sony Music A&R executive, who has been hunting me for months, sits across a polished mahogany table from me. His energy is infectious, a crackling aura of enthusiasm and ambition. Between us, a series of contracts are spread out like a roadmap to a future I had only dared to imagine. "The streaming numbers for Ghostwriter are absolutely unprecedented for an unknown artist," Marcus explains, his words tumbling out in his excitement. He taps a series of graphs on his tablet showing meteoric rises and staggering engagement metrics. "We're not just talking about a successful release, Jake. We're talking multi-million-dollar deal, a world tour, legitimate Grammy potential. This is a phenomenon." The irony is a delicious private joke. Just a few days ago, my family staged an intervention to save me from my delusional dreams. My sister, in a state of pure panic, is currently worried about my secret identity being exposed and bringing shame to our family. Meanwhile, in this hotel room, the most powerful forces in the music industry are offering me everything she and they insisted I could never and should never achieve. "There's just one thing," Marcus continues, leaning forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial, excited tone. "The whole anonymous thing was a brilliant marketing move. It built the mystery, the buzz, the mythos. But we're at the tipping point. Now, we need to capitalize on it. We need you to go public. The world is dying to know who Ghostwriter is. We need a face for the brand." Marcus slides a single piece of paper across the table. It's not a contract, it's a bank statement. My bank statement. For an account I set up 2 years ago under a shell corporation, the sole recipient of all Ghostwriter earnings. I stare at the number at the bottom, the final balance, and my vision blurs for a second. It's a staggering figure, an amount of money that would take my father, a successful accountant, at least 5 years to earn. "This is all you," Marcus says, a wide, infectious grin spreading across his face. streaming royalties from platforms all over the world, licensing deals for the use of your songs in commercials and TV shows that we brokered on your behalf, merchandise sales from the online store we helped set up. You've been earning a fortune while staying completely invisible. He taps the statement. And this, my friend, is just the beginning. My phone, sitting on the table, buzzes with a notification. It's from one of the financial apps I'd set up months ago, tracking my investments. The initial royalty payments, which I had immediately poured into a diverse portfolio of stocks and bonds, have already grown substantially. The numbers on the screen are more than just wealth. They represent absolute, unconditional freedom. Independence from Maya's judgment, from my parents' expectations, from the suffocating limitations of my small town and my old life. I am not just a musician. I am a self-made, financially independent entity. There's something else, Marcus says, his tone shifting from excited to one of serious, game-changing excitement. This isn't just about Sony. The buzz around you is so big it started a bidding war, and Atlantic Records. They came in with an offer we've never seen before for a new artist. They don't just want to sign you. They want to make you the flagship artist for their brand new prestige division. This isn't just a contract, Jake, it's a partnership. He slides the actual contract over. I scan the key clauses and the terms are mind-boggling. A signing bonus that dwarfs the bank statement I just saw. Complete creative control over all my music and visual branding. A profit-sharing model that is almost unheard of for a debut artist. And the final stunning clause, the establishment of my own record label imprint, funded by Atlantic, giving me the power to sign and develop other artists I believe in. They aren't just buying my music, they are investing in my vision, my taste, my future as a music mogul. We've been tracking Ghostwriter for 8 months, Marcus admits, his professional mask dropping for a moment to reveal the genuine music fan beneath. Before the first song even went viral, the demos you were leaking on obscure forums, the songwriting, we knew. Your sound, your message, the way your lyrics connect with listeners on a visceral level, this is once-in-a-generation talent, Jake. We're not just offering you a deal, we're offering you the keys to the kingdom. Sunday evening brings Maya to the garage. Not to the front door, but to my sanctuary, my space. She doesn't knock. She just appears in the doorway, a ghost of her former self. The perfect composure, the armor of confidence she's worn her entire life, is gone. She's wearing a simple sweater and jeans. Her hair is slightly disheveled, and her eyes are red and puffy. There are streaks down her cheeks where mascara has run, carried by tears that, for the first time, might actually be genuine. The air around her tastes of desperation and a final desperate gamble on remorse. Jake, she says, her voice thick and raspy. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. She doesn't wait for a response. She stumbles forward and collapses into my dad's old rickety chair, looking smaller and more fragile than I have ever seen her. I didn't understand. I swear I didn't. I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was saving you from a lifetime of disappointment. She launches into an apology that is almost poetic in its construction. She hits all the right notes. A full acknowledgement of the harm she caused, a clear acceptance of her responsibility without making excuses, and a litany of promises to change, to support me, to be the sister she should have always been. It's a flawless performance. She's clearly researched how to make a proper, effective apology, and she is executing it with the same precision she applies to everything in her life. I broke your guitar because I couldn't bear the thought of watching you chase these impossible dreams and end up with nothing, she says, tears welling in her eyes again. It hurt me to see you hurting yourself, but I was wrong. I was so completely wrong. Just then, my parents appear behind her, framing her in the doorway. It's another intervention, but this time the roles are completely reversed. They know, I'm not sure how they found out for certain. Maybe the local gossip finally became undeniable. Maybe Maya confessed everything, but they know I am Ghostwriter. The garage, my fortress of solitude, is suddenly filled with the scent of their regret and my mother's jasmine tea. We had no idea, Jake, my mother whispers, her hand flying to her mouth. Her eyes are wide with a bewildering mix of pride and profound guilt. All those beautiful, powerful songs, all that success you were building in secret, and all we did was try to make you give it all up. My father says nothing, but his silence is more eloquent than any words. He walks slowly around the garage, his eyes lingering on my recording equipment, my guitars hanging on the wall, the soundproofing panels I'd installed. He examines it all with a new, undisguised respect, and perhaps a flicker of memory for his own abandoned dreams of being a musician, dreams he'd packed away decades ago in favor of a stable accounting career. Maya, seeing her parental backup has arrived, produces a folded newspaper clipping from her pocket. It's from the local paper's small entertainment section. The headline reads, "Local Legend? Rumors swirl of record deal for mystery artist ghostwriter." She holds it out to me like a peace offering. "Jake, you're going to be famous," she says, her voice full of awe. "Really, truly famous. We want to be there for you. We want to celebrate with you, to support you in any way we can." I let the silence stretch out after they've all had their say. I listen to their apologies, their promises, their newfound pride. I watch them with the detached, clinical interest of a person watching a movie for the second time. I know all the lines, I know how it ends. Their emotions are real, I don't doubt that. Their regret is genuine, but it's 3 years too late. Or, from my perspective, a lifetime too late. "I appreciate the apology," I say finally. My voice is quiet, calm, and devoid of the anger they expect. It carries the same steady, unshakable calm I have maintained throughout this entire, elaborate act of revenge. I really do. A wave of relief washes over Maya's face. Hope brightens her features. She is expecting forgiveness. She is expecting that her tears and her perfectly crafted apology will be enough to reset our relationship, to restore the dynamic where she, the benevolent and forgiving sister, holds the power. She is expecting me to absolve her. But no! The two words land in the quiet garage with the soft, devastating finality of a closing casket. The hope on Maya's face curdles into confusion, then disbelief. "No?" my mother echoes, her voice trembling. "What do you mean, no?" I turn my gaze directly to Maya, holding her eyes, ensuring she understands that this next part is for her, and for her alone. "I don't accept your apology," I state, my voice unwavering. "And I don't want your support, not now." "For 25 years, Maya," I begin, my voice still calm but now honed to a razor's edge. "You have systematically, deliberately, and gleefully destroyed my confidence, my dreams, and my sense of self-worth. You didn't just disagree with my choices, you actively sabotaged them. You convinced me, you convinced them," I gesture towards our parents, "that I was delusional for wanting a life bigger than the one this town could offer me." I point to the faint outline of a scar on the concrete floor, the place where my Gibson shattered just a few weeks ago. "You stood in this garage where I poured my heart and soul into my music and you tried to kill it. This wasn't a one-time mistake or a simple misunderstanding. This was a pattern. This was cruelty, pure and simple." Maya opens her mouth to interrupt, to offer another defense, but I hold up a hand, silencing her. "You didn't break my guitar to protect me from disappointment," I continue, my words landing like surgical strikes. "You broke it because you couldn't stand the thought of me actually succeeding. You broke it because every hour I spent chasing my dream was a reminder of the ones you gave up on. You didn't want to be a doctor, Maya. You wanted to be a dancer. I remember, I was the only one you ever told. Your cruelty towards me was never about my future. It was always about your past." The final truth hangs in the air between us, a toxic smoke from an extinguished flame. Maya's carefully rehearsed tears are replaced by real, shuddering sobs of raw, undiluted shame. But these tears can't wash away 25 years of systematic emotional abuse. They can't unbreak the guitars, unsay the words, or unlive the life she forced upon me. I have the multi-million-dollar record deal. I have the world at my feet, and I have it all with no thanks to them. I have it all in spite of them, and I will not let them share in a victory they fought so hard to prevent. 6 months later, the morning sun spills into my penthouse apartment, painting the Los Angeles skyline in breathtaking shades of gold, rose, and pale violet. I stand by the floor-to-ceiling windows, a warm mug in my hands, watching the sunrise glint off the distant Hollywood hills. The coffee, a single origin Ethiopian blend, tastes like freedom and contentment. The air no longer feels suffocating as it did in my hometown. Here, it feels electric with pure, unadulterated possibility. It's a city built on second chances, and I am its newest and perhaps most unlikely success story. My debut album, which I titled Anonymous Confessions, has been sitting at #1 on the Billboard charts for the past 4 weeks. The critics are calling it a landmark record, a raw and brutally honest collection of songs that captured the zeitgeist. The irony is not lost on me. The very songs that were born from the pain and betrayal Maya and my family inflicted, the confessions she tried so desperately to silence, have made me more wealthy, more famous, and more successful than she, in her most ambitious moments, ever imagined for herself. My phone, resting on the marble countertop, buzzes with a gentle, insistent rhythm. It's a constant stream of notifications. Interview requests from international publications, collaboration offers from artists who were once just posters on my childhood bedroom wall, and updates on touring opportunities that span the globe. The music industry, that impenetrable fortress I once viewed from the outside, now seems to revolve around my schedule, my preferences, my vision. Through the vast expanse of glass, I can see the iconic shape of the Capitol Records building. Tomorrow, I have a meeting there, not as an aspiring artist hoping for a break, but as a peer, working with legendary producers to plan my next move. The roar is a physical force, a wave of sound and energy that washes over me, vibrating through the stage, up my legs, and into my chest. 20,000 voices in the Tokyo Dome scream the lyrics back at me, their Japanese accents adding a beautiful, surreal texture to words that began as private, whispered pain in a small-town American garage. The energy in the arena is intoxicating, a swirling vortex of shared emotion that is both transformative and deeply healing. The loneliness that fueled my early work has been replaced by this profound, overwhelming connection. Backstage, after the final encore, the air is thick with sweat, adrenaline, and the crisp scent of success. A line of international music journalists waits patiently for their allotted 10 minutes with the mysterious ghostwriter who finally, on his own terms, revealed his identity in a sprawling, exclusive interview with Rolling Stone a month prior. They don't just want to ask about the music. They want to understand the story behind it, the narrative of betrayal and rebirth that has captivated the world. I glance at my phone, scrolling through a dedicated fan email account. The messages are a torrent of raw, emotional outpourings from people whose lives have been changed by my music. A teenager from Brazil who finally stood up to her family after they belittled her artistic ambitions. A middle-aged man from Germany who, after hearing Professor Pretender, re-enrolled in the conservatory he had abandoned 30 years earlier. A young woman who used family betrayal to explain to her therapist the subtle, insidious nature of the emotional abuse she had endured. The tour manager pops his head into the dressing room, a wide grin on his face. "Good news," he announces. "The European leg is completely sold out. We're adding 12 more dates." What began as a meticulous plan for revenge against small-town cruelty has morphed into something far bigger, a global movement of artistic and personal liberation. Back in LA, my record label imprint, which I named Second Chance Records, is thriving. The label's mission is simple: to find and nurture talent in artists whose stories mirror my own. In less than a year, we have signed 15 artists. They are the dreamers, the outcasts, the ones whose spirits were nearly broken by the very people who should have been their biggest champions. They are young musicians whose parents discouraged their dreams, whose teachers dismissed their talents, whose small-town communities offered no path to success. I spend most of my time when I'm not touring in our private, state-of-the-art recording studio. Today, I'm working with Sarah, a 19-year-old piano prodigy from rural Ohio, whose mother, in a fit of practical concern, sold her baby grand piano to pay for her nursing school application fees. Her voice, when she sings, carries the same quiet, aching pain that mine once did. But underneath it, there is a core of unbreakable, defiant hope. They told me I was wasting my time, she tells me during a break, her fingers idly tracing a silent melody on the keys of the brand new Steinway I bought for the studio. They said that dreams don't pay the bills and that music was a child's fantasy. I smile, a genuine, easy smile. I remember Maya's almost identical words, words that once had the power to shatter me. Sometimes, I tell Sarah, passing her a bottle of water, the people who try to kill our dreams are really just trying to kill their own regrets. She looks at me, a flicker of understanding in her eyes, and then she turns back to the piano and begins to play. For the first time since I left, I drive back through my hometown. The windows of my rental car are down, and I breathe in the familiar air, a mix of cut grass and damp earth. It no longer feels suffocating, it just feels small. The familiarity is comfortable now, rather than constraining, like looking at a photograph from a distant past. It has no power over me anymore. I drive past Vintage Strings Music Store. A large, glossy poster advertising my upcoming concert documentary is displayed prominently in the front window. Mrs. Patterson is behind the counter, and she gives a friendly, neighborly wave to my passing car, completely unaware that the global superstar on the poster is the same quiet, part-time employee she once promoted to assistant manager. I pass by my childhood home. It looks exactly the same, but Maya's sensible sedan is no longer in the driveway. According to my mother's brief, reluctant updates during our stilted monthly phone calls, Maya moved to Portland a few months after I left. She works as a medical technician in a quiet clinic. She never finished med school. She never married Brad. She just left. The town feels smaller than my memory had suggested, its invisible fences and self-imposed limitations glaringly obvious now that I have seen the world beyond them. It's not a bad place, I realize. It was just a bad place for me. The final scene of my life's first act plays out on the deck of a beach house in Malibu. The Pacific Ocean stretches out before me, a vast, endless expanse of shimmering blue, reaching for a horizon that once seemed impossibly, cruelly distant from the confines of my garage. My guitar rests against the deck railing. It's a custom-built instrument, a one-of-a-kind piece crafted by the luthiers at Martin, a gift from the company after my first album went platinum. It's a more beautiful, more resonant, and infinitely more valuable instrument than the one Maya destroyed. New songs come easily now, flowing not from a place of pain and revenge, but from a wellspring of joy, gratitude, and a hard-won peace. I'm writing my autobiography. A publisher paid a staggering advance for the rights to the story they've only heard whispers of: the rebirth, the cold, and calculated revenge, the quiet, anonymous rise, and the final, explosive transformation from victim to victor. The words fill the page with an easy, unburdened grace. As the sun finally melts into the ocean, painting the sky in fiery shades of orange, purple, and crimson, a profound sense of closure settles over me. The fires of my anger have long since burned out, leaving behind not ashes, but fertile ground. I finally understand that the greatest revenge wasn't the destruction of my enemy's peace of mind, or the exposure of their hypocrisy. The best revenge wasn't revenge at all. It was simply, quietly, and unequivocally becoming everything they said I could never be, and then becoming more.